We are back with our featured Fabric Friday. We took off last week for the holidays, you know, Thanksgiving, spend time with family, but we're back this week. And today is a little bit special because I changed up the order. I have like this order on which I was gonna do all the fabrics. And I changed today up because today is Faux Fur Friday. Faux, like I had to make sure I pronounced it all correctly so it was a lot blah, blah, blah. See, there I go. Faux Fur Friday. So it's the first Friday in the month of December. And so I said, well, you know what? Let's use this day to talk about our Minky fabric, which is not technically faux fur. However, is the most faux it's the most faux fur that you're gonna get from me. So it's not technically fur, but you know, we'll get into how it's kind of sort of like faux fur. So go ahead and grab your little snack, get your water, get your tea, and take about 10-15 minutes and we're gonna talk about our Minky fabric. Okay, so let's talk about the specifications of our Minky fabric. So Minky fabric in general, not even just mine, is 100% polyester. It is a knitted fabric and it lends itself to be similar to fleece, but it's its softer cousin. I hope that makes sense. So if you've had fleece, it's like that, except it is a lot softer. It has a more blankety feel versus the scratchy feel that fleece has, but you can use it for a lot of the same things that you can use fleece for. So our Minky fabric, we actually do a double Minky. So double Minky means that you have that soft blankety texture on both sides of the fabric. So the printed side and the unprinted side. So here at Queenora Renee Fabrics, our Minky is a double Minky. And you ask, Queenora, what is a double Minky? Similar to double brush polyester, it's a very simple meaning. Double Minky means that it has that blankety texture on both sides of the fabric. It's double Minky. Very easy, very simple logic behind double Minky, that wording. Some Minky, you'll see that it's only on the design side, the printed side, and then the other side is just like a flat fleece type of backing to it. But ours is a double Minky. Mainly, it's a personal choice on which one you like better. But I personally chose to do double Minky in my offerings because I just like the feel of it against my skin. Some people use Minky for things outside of apparel, but I'm primarily an apparel sewist, so I like the double Minky because if I'm gonna make this and put it on my body, I like it for it to be soft on both sides, not just the one side. So our double Minky is 225 grams per square meter. So if you've been watching some of our other videos, which I will link here, you can kind of use those as a gauge to how heavy or how light it is. It's definitely not light. It has a body to it, but it's a good weight for all of the different things that you can make with it. It's almost like that perfect weight at 225 grams per square meter. Our Minky is printed, since it's a knit, it's on 60-inch wide fabric. However, our Minky does generally have a larger salvage, as you can see here, this white space that's not printed. So on the website, and generally if people ask me, I say that it's about 56 inches wide, because that 4 inches can make a difference if you're someone like me who is like Tetris cutting your pattern pieces, you know, you cutting it all the way down to the wire. Or if you like me, you put a pattern piece on here, you be like, well, that part's gonna be part of the seam allowance anyway, so I can cut. So you be going all into the salvage. That's me. So instead of looking at it at 60 inches, I try to tell people, think of it as 56. Generally, you can get 58, but you know, I tell people 56 to be on the safe side. Okay, now let's talk advantages of Minky. The first advantage is it's a knit. That's gonna always be an advantage because it has stretch. It doesn't have quite as much, but it still has some, as you can see me, you know, pulling the fabric here. That's an advantage. So the second advantage, outside of it being a knit, is it does not have a lot of shrinkage and there is no pilling when it comes to Minky. Now I say that with a caveat, which we'll talk about things to keep in mind later. It doesn't pill, however, comma, you know, you may have a little shedding, and we're gonna talk about the shedding and things to keep in mind. But it does not peel, so you don't have to worry about, you know, the design fading. You don't have to worry about, you know, you make it and then it shrinks, you know, 6 times smaller than what you made it. You don't have to worry about that when it comes to Minky. So the other advantage is how soft it is and how it has this blankety texture, which is great for a number of uses. So I'm primarily an apparel sewist, so I would use this for any type of application that I would use faux fur, velvet, anything that has that nap. I would use this Minky for anything like that. And here's a list of some things that you can use this for. People also use this for blankets. I myself have never made a blanket. Maybe that'll be on my 2023 to-do list. I don't know, we'll see. But you can use it for a blanket, a throw rug. You can use it for the backing of a quilt. You can use it for some earmuffs. I'm trying to list things that I personally haven't made, but I've seen other people make. Earmuffs, you can use it for a stuffed animal. I've never made one of those, but this will be really great if you wanted to make like a little cute teddy bear. This will be so soft and cute and have it there for, you know, the little ones. That'd be really cute. Because of the texture of the Minky, it lends itself to be really great for those type of applications. And like I said, you can still use it on the apparel side if you wanted to do like a faux fur vest-esque type look. If you wanted to make some pajamas, ooh, this would be so soft in some pajamas. A onesie, you know, you can make you a nice little winter onesie with this. So the blankety texture makes it perfect for all of those types of things. So now that we talked about all of the good things and the advantages and the things you can do, let's talk about the things to keep in mind when it comes to Minky fabric. So the first thing to keep in mind is that because it has a pile, so pile just means that, you know, it's not just a flat, it's not a flat fabric. It has some texture to it. Because it has a pile, when you cut that pile, you're gonna see the pile all over the flow. You're gonna see it in your scissors, you're gonna see it in your hair, you're gonna see it on the table, you're gonna see it 5 months later after you done cut something. Think of it almost like sequin. You know, when you cut some sequins, you're gonna find it. Can I say shit? I mean, it is my own YouTube channel. I think I can. You're gonna see that shit everywhere. You're gonna see that shit everywhere. So like, when I cut this, and I'm using just some regular scissors, these not fabric scissors, so don't, you know. If I was to cut this, right, and I don't know if you can see the little pieces already starting to come off, but because I'm interrupting those knitted fibers, you're gonna have these little pieces that are going to come off. Similar to sequin, you see it? I hope the camera catches it. You're gonna have that same. Are you done? Are you done? You're gonna have that same type of effect, and you're gonna have these feathers essentially all over the place. Okay, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. And unfortunately, since it is a double-sided Minky, This is the thing to keep in mind. Even though I love the feel of the softness on both sides, because it's a double-sided Minky, you don't have that backing as you would with some types of faux fur where it's a single side. You don't have the backing where it's like, oh, I'm gonna only cut through the backing to kind of reduce the amount of, there's a word for this, fallout. You would only cut the backing to reduce the amount of fallout. Ain't no reducing. Ain't no reducing the fallout. You gonna get all the fallout, okay? Because it's double-sided. There's just no way around it. So there's definitely something to keep in mind. So whether that's you maybe want to cut outdoors, maybe you want to have, you know, an air purifier, you know, somewhere around. You want to make sure you clean up like immediately afterwards. Whether you have like a little handheld vacuum, you want to be prepared for it. I would also suggest for someone like me where I cut large amounts of fabric like this, I actually wear a mask when I'm cutting the large amount of fabric. So if you're making something with multiple pieces, I would recommend wearing a mask just to protect yourself from all of the fibers. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. The next thing to keep in mind is because it has pile, nap, texture, any you know, you can say all these different words for it, nap, pile, all that. Basically it means you have to be careful in how you cut your fabric. All those words means that. Be careful in how you cut your fabric. So similar to something like velvet, when you rub your hands along the velvet, when you rub your hand along the velvet versus when you rub your hand against the velvet, you're gonna get two different looks. And depending on what you're making, you're going to adjust how you cut your fabric. The same thing applies to Minky. So with Minky, you have a direction that it's going in. So I'm going along the Minky. It's nice and it's soft and, you know, it's like I want to pet it, you know. But if I was to go the other way, and let's see if we can get a little close up. You see how now you see the underlying white of the fabric, right? And that's not a good look if what you're trying to achieve is this. So if I was to make a vest out of this fabric, I would make sure that my pattern was going in the direction of my pile, in the direction of my nap, right? Versus against it. Because, you know, when you put something on, and you know, we're gonna pretend I got this on, right? You know, I put on my little fur coat. We're gonna imagine. You know, I got my little fur coat on, and I'm like, oh yeah, I like it. And if I'm doing this all day, you see that? That's not cute. Versus I got my little fur on, and I'm like, yeah, girl, I got my fur on. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's a totally different thing. Which, shoot, this would be a cute little blanket scarf. Look at that. Little wrap. So you just want to be, I'm sorry, y'all. But you just want to be very cautious of your pattern pieces. Where's the grain line on your pattern pieces? Make sure that grain line matches with, excuse me, make sure the grain line aligns with the direction of the smoothness of the fabric, the direction of the nap, the direction of the pile. So that way you get that smooth blankety feel versus trying to go against it. So the third thing to keep in mind is that this is 100% polyester, okay? 100% synthetic. There are no natural fibers in Minky, which means that it is going to lend itself to be warmer. It is going to lend itself to be hot. So this is not something that I would recommend that you make a, you know, long sleeve onesie with the hood and you try to go out in Georgia heat of 95 degrees and be cute with some Uggs. Like, that's not what you want to do. But But it'll be great for, like, right now here in El Paso, it's in the 40s. You know, we're getting into that weather where it's like, okay, let's get some earmuffs, let's have a scarf, and this would be really cute. This would be really cute. It's like an earmuff scarf little set with some mittens. I may have to try that. Okay, anyway, back to the video. But yeah, so you just want to keep that in mind in what you make for it. It is synthetic, so it is going to hold in heat, which is good in the winter months, not so good in the summer months. And it all depends on your temperature, your climate, your preferences, all of that good stuff. So those are the 3 things that you need to keep in mind whenever you are dealing with Minky in your sewing journey. And so now we're gonna take it over to the sewing table where we'll be able to get a closer look at the texture, the pile of this design. That way you can really see what we're working with. So here we are at the table with our Minky fabric. This particular piece is a remnant that I had left over from when I got samples. So it's not the full width 60 inches that you would normally get, but it's still gonna work for kind of looking at it, seeing its properties. So our Minky is a 2-way stretch. It has 25% stretch horizontally and no stretch vertically along the selvage. So we'll do like we did our other pieces. That way you can see that stretch in action. Okay, so I changed the angle so you can see the numbers. Makes it a lot easier. So we'll put our finger on 16 and then we'll put our finger on 20. That's our 4 inches to touch stretch. And you can see that it stretches to 21 inches. So that's an additional inch, meaning that's a 25% stretch. And that is against my selvage. So that's the horizontal stretch. And then vertically, I can tell you there's no stretch at all. As you can see, this ain't stretching nowhere. Okay. So it only has the 2-way stretch horizontally against the selvage. So next we're going to take a look at the texture of the Minky, so you can see the pile and really see up close some of the things that I was talking about earlier, which you can kind of see it now without me really even doing anything to the fabric. You can see here the white base fabric. You see the little, streaks of it through here. You can see the streaks of it through here. You can see some around here. So that's because my pile is disturbed. It's not laying smooth versus it is here, right? So once I start to lay that in the direction that it's meant to go, you'll start seeing the base fabric essentially disappear because it's being hidden by the actual pile of the fabric. So, but when I go away from it, this is what you would get. So imagine if you had, a vest or maybe some earmuffs and you accidentally cut the pattern in the wrong direction, and then it would look like this. That's not why we sew. We sew to have quality, good looking items. And so that's why it's really, really important to keep in mind the pile, the nap of Minky and other fabrics when you get ready to cut your patterns or your patterns out. So let's take a look at both the printed side and the underside of the fabric. It is blankety soft, as I mentioned earlier in the video. And if we get a close up, you can see how it has that texture and that nap and that pile to it. And it's on both sides. So let's smooth that back out. It's a little bit harder to see on white because it's it's just, you know, all a flat color. But you can see the rippling effect of me going against the pile. And you see that rippling effect that's happening? It's essentially the same thing, but since it's all one color, it's not as noticeable as it is on the other side. However, when I smooth it out, you see how that rippling is gone. Okay, so that was our Minky fabric. We talked about specifications, we talked about what it's good for, things to keep in mind when you're using this particular fabric. I hope you were able to really see the pile and the texture that is on this Minky fabric. I hope that came through on the camera. And it never fails. Every week that I, you know, do these videos, I am like encouraged, motivated to make something out of that fabric. And I guess it's because I'm talking about it and what it's good for, and it's like, I could use one of those. Because now I'm thinking about making me a little vest or maybe some earmuffs or something. We'll see if I'm actually do it. So I hope this video was informative and you either learn something new, or you maybe have a newfound appreciation for Minky, or it makes you intrigued to try Minky in, you know, some new sewing projects, because that's always the goal. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them below in the comment box. You can always DM me too if you have any questions. My Instagram and Facebook inbox is always open. Feel free. And I will see y'all next Friday when we talk about another fabric, as we continue down in this featured fabric Friday, where I show you all of the fabric bases that we have available here at Queenora Renee Fabrics. All right, so y'all have a great and wonderful day, and I will see y'all later.